Welcome to the Product Boss Podcast, where we help product-based businesses grow their sales and improve their strategies.
Hey everyone, I want to introduce you to my co-host and biz bestie, Mina Kunlo-Sitep, an Amazon guru that has built a multi-six-figure product-based business.
And introducing the other half of the Product Boss, Jacqueline Snyder. She has helped launch and grow over 500 fashion apparel and accessory brands, even one of her own.
And together, we share our inventory of secret weapons that will help you dig deep and do the work it takes.
Are you ready? Let's build together.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Product Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Jacqueline Snyder, with my grateful co-host, Mina Kunlo-Sitep. Hey Mina.
Hey Jacqueline.
So first, we want to say happy Thanksgiving to all y'all. We are so grateful for you for listening to this podcast, for being a part of our community, and for helping our dream grow to where it is. And we hope that you guys are enjoying your family or your friends and some delicious food and taking a little bit of time to reflect on your year.
Yeah, I hope that you guys know how much we love all of you and how you have literally changed our lives. So we are so grateful for every single one of you guys. And that is exactly what our podcast episode today is going to be about, is reflecting on all the things for Thanksgiving.
So we are going to treat this the way that we actually ask this in people who sign up to work with us in a strategy session. And we are going to ask each other these questions and answer them, as well as ask you. So the three questions that we're going to ask, so if you guys want to take note of this and then maybe write this in a diary, in notes on your phone, however you want to reflect. But what we're going to ask are, where were you then? Where are you now? And where do you want to be? So it's a good time right now when we're looking back in retrospect and being grateful for the things that we have and thankful for you to also just think, because we're edging towards the end of this year, what has happened for you this year and what would you like to happen for you in the future? So shall we start?
Yeah. And I want to bring up that this is more of a vision exercise, right? Keep it loose and dreamy. It's not like a goal setting one. Whereas, a goal setting would be like exact to-dos. This is more of let your mind wander. Where were you before? Where are you now? And where do you want to be?
Okay. So let's start with that, Mina.
Okay.
Where were you before?
If I were to lump it together, I would say it was much more gated. I think I had a lot more excuses about being an introvert, I feel like, and my energy level and things like that. I think that before I was definitely more 99% no when I say gated and even allowing people into my life or committing to things. Whereas now I feel like I'm definitely not that way. Looking back, I even how there's a time hop on Facebook and things like that. And I can see that even in myself. So I'm surprised I went to that. Or, and even the inclination of saying no, I remember just being very, very protective of my own time, to the point of it being too much, being a weakness instead of a strength.
Mm-hmm. So where do you think you are now?
I think now I definitely am 60% yes. And I would not say yes or no, but I'm definitely 99% I might say yes, which is huge, right? Whereas before the no is the gut reaction. Now it's maybe is, and then I'll think about it.
Or I might convince you into it.
Yes.
Or you'll actually talk me off and be like, no, we're good. We don't need
I
to
just
do that
said
right
this morning, let's shelve that idea.
Which is fine, because that's, we're fortunate to have that. So that's on a sort of a personal, emotional personality sense. What would you say about business, for where were you then and where are you now?
Business-wise, definitely more on the Product Boss train, and definitely feeling overwhelmed with getting my schedule correct. That's where I feel right now, right? Whereas before, I felt like I had figured it out in a way for the little labels things that I needed to do, and I was in a rhythm. And then once I fell off of that rhythm, now I'm where can I get my rhythm and figure out where I am now? I think I need to figure out how to get back into the rhythm.
Mm-hmm. So then where do you want to be? What do you see 2020 looking like for you?
More of a, I want to be more of me in a big way. I think before I was very gated. I think I want to be the very opposite of that. I want to be more of everything I want to do because I want to do it. And I want to try new things, which I've always said I'm not an adventurous person, but only when I try new things that I want to try, which is fine. I want to just step into this more powerful, bigger version of myself, at least knowing that of the things that make me happy and healthy and feel like I felt the growth, you know?
I love that.
So what about you? Where were you before?
So, in an emotional sense, I was kind of not emotional, in transition constantly. So, that's just based on the lifestyle that I've had in terms of being married to an actor whose job can be anywhere, or that we've moved across the country, literally by coastal over the last 5-6 years. So there's a lot of transition, and I was very transitional, and I wasn't really willing to put down roots, or I just didn't know where I was going to be. So I feel like that's where I was, and in that, the choices I made were sort of like, I didn't know where things were going. I just kind of was living by the seat of my pants. So like monthly, I would deal with what I needed to deal with. But then, if James got another job in New York, then we had to go back to New York. Or if James got a movie or a TV show in Canada, we have to go to Canada. So that's changed for me. I think the other thing is this one-to-many concept. So for over a decade, for 13 years, I've been consulting people just like all of you. So startup businesses or solopreneur type businesses, they were product based, but they were just in the fashion industry, where I was taking people's ideas and helping those actually become real, from design to development, production, and coaching on sales and everything. And it was one-on-one, and it still is. Like, I still have my clients. I have exceptionally wonderful clients for Designer Consulting Co-op. But this idea of one-to-many, and one-to-many for product entrepreneurs, for all of you, for, food to home accessories to jewelry and fashion to helpful, useful products like Mina's, the scope, like the growth has changed. So back then it was like, how do I satisfy my client? And it was me and my client, and I actually, had a team. And then, and now it's this idea. So I guess it's going to, where am I now? Should I just move my question along?
Yes.
So where am I now? I think, let's staying with the business side of it all, this impact that we could have just through this podcast with product entrepreneurs. So all of the things I've done over the last 13 years, working in everybody's businesses and in the down and dirty, and having my own business, to being able to speak and have this access to more people has been incredible, where I actually feel like I'm making more of an impact that's changing lives versus those individual lives where, you worked with clients, like
right.
There's so much, there's like intricacies. So it's actual like relationships of how you perform, how they respond to it. But this is something where the weight of consulting is a little bit off of me, and the more of just like the giving of information, I love it. Like, I found such joy, and that was what I wanted to find again, was joy. So I'm now able to balance both businesses with consulting still, and having the clients that I work with there, and then also what we're growing with the Product Boss, like you said. So I think we're both definitely in that place of both of our businesses balancing, and the Product Boss and how fast and quickly it's grown, and our audiences and our groups. I think in terms of personally, like on the transitional side of things, we've set roots. Like, we've bought a house in New Jersey. My husband has a job as Harry Potter and the Cursed Child on Broadway. And I've said that, I said it out loud. I usually don't say that that's what my husband's doing. Mina does.
I say it all the time. I love saying it.
I'm not like, oh, my husband's Harry Potter, because people are like, wait, Daniel Radcliffe? No. And so he has a job as an actor that is a longer term job right now. We've bought a house. Our kids are enrolled in school, because legally now my son's in first grade and he has to be in school, right? We're not homeschooling. And I feel settled. I feel like I have my roots set. I can see a future where we're going to be. I can see a future to my husband's career, because that's why we moved here, that there's a place that he is a 20-minute train ride from the city for any audition or any show he needs to be in. And I think it's the same with the feeling of the business. Like, the podcast and this community that you're all helping us build is infinite. it feels infinite because it's one to many. So instead of like hour for hour with consulting, it's infinite now because we can help more people, whether it's in our masterminds with many people in that group, or if it's in our courses, or if it's just here on the podcast or any of like our free trainings and whatnot. So I'm still able to stick to that personal relationship I love with my clients and then also help more people.
And where do you want to be?
I want to be a boss. And by boss, I mean my version of boss. So I've had a team and I've had an office. I've had those things, and that's actually not the stuff I necessarily want right now. But my version of boss as like a woman, a female boss, is like, I guess, more of an authority, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking on other people's stages, you and I being known for being the Product Boss podcast, really having more of a reach and an impact across our audience and other people's audiences, and bringing more people in, because you and I, our experiences are so vast and deep. And over the last, over a decade of what we've done individually, and then what we're doing together, and then the community we're bringing. So I think where I want to be is positioning ourselves in an authority position. I think we have hired a team. We have like 5 people on our team now, which we had nobody on our team in January.
Right. I mean, it's been a lot.
We have a bigger team and we love our team, and we're growing our community, we're growing our list, we're growing our downloads. And so I'm just really excited to see, because I think that, like I said before, like this business is a little bit infinite. Like there's not so much it's not based on the hours in our day necessarily with how we can grow this together.
Yeah. And it's so much more fulfilling than I ever expected. Like you call it joy, I call it fulfilling, more so in the fact that like when we get together, we creatively bring all this content, right? We call it education, teaching, whatever it is. It impacts people, but it feels so good, not just from that we're impacting them and it's fulfilling, but also because like I feel like we get something so important out. Like I feel like, oh my gosh, that is so fantastic what we put together in this course or masterclass or whatever it ends up being, even in a podcast episode. And it feels like something valuable, and I think that's the thing that changed for me, was that I was like, for little labels, not that I don't think that labels are valuable, but they don't provide that same fulfillment for me as far as like I'm really changing lives, and giving them something super valuable. I'm giving them a label. But at the same time, there is, it's one of many products they'll have in their life, and it is super important to me. It's just different with the Product Boss because we get to work so deeply with people and connect with them that I don't get on the little label side. I'm not going deep with people,
Yeah. Yeah. That deep connection and that impact. So we challenge you guys on this day of like feeling grateful and reflection of what you've done in your business, whether you've decided to be brave enough to start a business, whether you are side hustling and you have a career, whether you have been able to leave that career or that job and go full-time product boss, or whether you're a product boss that is now employing your first employee or 20 plus employees. We want you guys to reflect on those things, that like, if you think back to where you were, and where you are now, and then where you want to be. Because the other thing is that it's not always about revenue. It's not always about financials. It's about the way you feel. It's about your impact. It's about maybe the life you're creating for your family, or the life you're creating for the people who work for you or work with you, like contractors, and like impact or mission. You might be a mission-based business, because what you're doing is valuable, and it's valuable to the world. And we've talked about this in a previous episode, but it's an example for like future generations. So think about that. Like ask yourself these questions, and let it be a little bit of an emotional kind of reflection as well, because you've done a really good job, and you've taken risks that others sometimes are too scared to take. And so if you're listening to this podcast, even if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't even started your own business yet, or you haven't even started making yet, you're just thinking about it. Just that thought, that little seed that you've planted eventually will grow and blossom. It may be, if it works for you and if it feels like it's right. But you take that risk because the risk is enough that you just take that chance, I guess. Take a chance on yourself.
Right. And I think that I want to go back to what I said about the deeper connection and the value, right? Because I don't want you guys to think that you need to offer services for product-based businesses to get that satisfaction, that fulfillment, right? The thing that I think a lot of people are missing that I challenge you to do for where do you want to be is to find your people that understand what you're talking about. And that's the thing, right? It feels so much more valuable and it feels so much more fulfilling because Jacqueline and I have built a community around us. We also have very deep connections with the people that we work with, the people, in our community. And I think that that's something that gets so lonely that becomes a game changer, truly a game changer for your life and your business as you're moving forward if you can find that. And so I challenge you guys to step out of your comfort zone, to meet different people, to go into our community, find your biz bestie, find people you connect with, because I think that will be the difference of how you feel now and how you feel later on is from the people that you meet and the relationships you build.
Yeah, I agree. So a lot of you want the biz bestie. It's not always as simple as finding, the same way that finding a boyfriend or a husband or a wife or a spouse or a partner. But find the community. And that's why we've built this community for all of you. Find a community that gets you. We have our, the Product Boss community on Facebook, which we have a link in the show notes. But the smaller communities we're building are Multi-Stream Machine, our course, and the people that are getting to go through that course together and trying these new platforms. Or even smaller than that communities are our masterminds. We work with 4-figure, 5 to multi-6-figure and 7-figure based product-based businesses. I can't even tell you the joy it brings me to listen to the conversations they're having with each other, the wins that they're getting to share with each other. The fact that, one of them, we got a message this morning that one of them's like, I have only ever told my husband this, but now that I've got you, I'm going to tell you guys this, in her mastermind. And she shared something really special for her and made me a little sad that we can't share that with our friends. But we knew this, right? When we started this, we knew, you guys are probably not sitting down at Thanksgiving dinner and being like, hey guys, guess what? I just had a 4, 5, 6-figure month, with your friends and family. Probably not. But if you were sitting around with a group of other product-based businesses around a Thanksgiving table, you guys would be sharing that, hopefully. And so take advantage of the community we're helping create and build, and that you guys are also building with each other.
Right. It's in the gathering and the gratefulness, right? This holiday season. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Please do this exercise for yourself and for your business. And we are so excited to go into the end of the year and the new year with all of you. So thank you again. We are grateful for every single one of you.
Thank you.
This episode is over, but it doesn't have to end. Head over to our Facebook group, search for the Product Boss Biz Community, or the link is also in the show notes. Come connect with other product bosses just like you. We'll see you in there.
If you love the Product Boss podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, share, rate, and give a review on iTunes. Until next time, Product Bosses, let's make it happen.